I'm Trey Trahan with Trahan Architects in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We are a small studio in Baton Rouge, around 20 people, a diverse group of young, talented architects, asking many questions about architecture and what our role is in society and what buildings and project types we can make the greatest impact on the quality of life, and what is important to society today, where we've come from and how we're developing, and how we bring about acceptance and diversity in life, and those kind of those cultural issues that we deal with daily, those social inequities that are so important to our society. Architecture for me is creating something of beauty, and beauty to me is not only something that meets the basic requirements of code and structure and creates a place that is safe and secure, but a place that has an understanding of context, and context not only in built form but the cultural issues, something that allows oneself, irregardless of building typology, to reflect upon oneself and ask questions about what their role here is, what the resources are of the planet, what other types of people are out there, to address our lack of understanding and acceptance of people and diversity, and begins to confront those issues and elevate all of us to be more accepting and create spaces that kind of encourage or at times force that interaction between all people. I think at Architects we need to remind ourselves that it's about people, and begin to confront other issues. Projects of the past, libraries, churches of different religions, museums, are all important. Residences, low-income housing, all these are very important to the quality of life. And I think as architects we need to be equally creative in considering program. What else can we bring together? What are other creative ways of thinking beyond the typical programming of a building, whether it's in a rural setting, it's in an urban context, or even suburban? I think there are beautiful ways or ways of creating buildings by bringing together different programs that we have not even begun to think about, that are more responsive to how we live today, how we think, the impact of technology, and what we yearn for. We're all looking for something that is truly rooted in ways that I think so many of our contemporary buildings are not rooted. I think networking and socializing is terribly important, because it offers the architect the forum for dialoguing with those that are not only in our profession, but more importantly those connected to the edges of our profession, and those that are outside of the realm of our profession directly, and providing them with an architect's insight into environment, place, but also then building relationships that give us a deeper understanding into the uniqueness of people's lives. Myself, as well as so many architects that I know, seem to stay focused within the world of architecture and socialize mostly with architects. And so I think to kind of break those boundaries and begin to understand what people are thinking and feeling and confronting in daily life, whether it's an individual or a family, gives us a better sensitivity, a stronger sensitivity, a unique understanding of what the real problem is. It also allows us to develop relationships, I believe, that gives that client a more comfortable and secure feeling of accepting that the architect is looking to create something that is not about oneself and building some icon to oneself, but creating something that is responsible to society. I think that for us, innovation comes about by taking those of us that are a little older, such as myself, and beautifully blending it with young creative talents, and talents that have grown up in different cultures with different educational backgrounds, and kind of weaving those together to gain a better understanding of the opportunities that now are provided to us, not only in diverse thinking but with technology, and that of always, of course, is coupled with how do you make this work from a business model. With us, it's with athletic facilities. Our athletic facilities are the economic engine that are with important clients, but clients that have a different set of parameters, of objectives that are typically limited as far as time frame, because it's about the economics of the sport and having it built for supporting that sports program. But the revenues from them typically result in funding that allow us on those other projects where the client has allowed us to spend what we would refer to as an enormous amount of time studying, evaluating, and asking what we consider to be all the important questions to fund that. To us, that is allows us to create and put into our toolbox many more tools that are either applied to that project or projects in the future, and pull those out as we see that they are most relevant. It's an important question. I think students should travel. They should travel, and they should meet with faculty before accepting to go to a certain school. I think they should ask many questions. I think that they should find schools that have diverse educational backgrounds in the professors and different cultural backgrounds. But a school that not only is about teaching, but reminding each of those individuals to apply what is learned to their past, to suggest that each of those students comes from a different background, and that is of tremendous influence, whether it is the values and beliefs of one's parents and siblings, and those effects on a person as an individual. But all those have connections to, I believe, our architecture. And so I think, although in some ways architecture school should remove you from your independent life and the world that you have grown up in, but it should also reconnect you in other ways to that world and force you to, or encourage you to ask questions that make that architecture, or what the school teaches, relevant to your past and previous lives. I think that's a multifaceted question. There's a business side to that. You know, what financially works, and at the same time remembering that you want to feel safe and secure financially, but at other times you want to push the envelope and accept some successful business executive's position that if you're not borrowing money, you're not advancing or pushing yourself. And so I think it's always important to see it from that perspective. But I think I think there are many branches to the firm. There should be a group within the firm that is pushing things that are beyond really the boundaries that you even know it. And there are a group that are serving as the economic engine. And but I think that a firm should continue to change and grow. It should have some degree of predictability, but it should also possess a high degree of unpredictability. I think that what makes it engaging and interesting is to not know exactly where you're going at times, and to follow that in an intuitive way. If we always truly know or have some sense of where we've been and the effects of responsible decision making, and also our failures, and we should learn from those. But I enjoy engaging with the guys in the office, and they're brilliant young architects that have so much to add, and I think it's important to assign great value to each of those members, and recognize that they are instrumental in growing and develop in a firm. I have repeatedly stated to those in our office that although at times they feel they work for me, that in essence they work for themselves, that they are building a firm within themselves, and that if they choose to leave, and we hope they don't, that they take all of that knowledge with them, and that so that some, I guess, would argue that that's self-serving, because that may be asking some to push it beyond their limits. But it serves the firm and themselves, and I think that's important. We all have the ability or the opportunity to venture out and be active participants in growing and developing a firm, and each should participate that and make suggestions and feel comfortable going to whoever's in the leadership role to encourage various options and opportunities for development. It's about connectivity. It's about having access to information. It's about having access to information early. It's about accessing people and relationships in a different way, and that information is critical. It also quickly gives you a sense of how others in the profession are solving problems, or which solutions are unsuccessful. Those kind of precedents are very important to having a clearer understanding of where we've been and where we're going. It is overwhelming at times, and I think it has to be placed in proper perspective, because one can find themselves as up to date as humanly possible with our capacity as a person, with what's going on, what's taking place, and not really creating. And I think for those of us who have chosen to build, it's important to keep that balanced with designing beautiful things and having them built, because it's only through building that we truly realize the full potential of architecture, but the complexity of the process and what it takes to achieve that.